Hey, what's up, gamers? It's your boy Church of Caboose, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I thought we'd talk a little bit about the Master Raid and like my thoughts on it. Kind of, is it worth it? What do I think might happen to it? That kind of a deal. And of course, that's going to include stuff like loot and all of that. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click the like button as well as subscribe. Because, here at this channel, we're kind of all about, like, hey, a lot of us, don't play games full time, so, like, what's worth doing and, like, the fastest way to do it. And since Master Raid has Adept Weapons, kind of figured it makes sense to share with you guys what I think about the whole shebang. So, that's going to be the video. Before we do that, though, let's real quick. I have now joined the Tag Guardians, TA Guardians, Allied Guardians now. It's on Twitter and all that. Their clan, just so, part of their organization, ended up just deciding, hey, I probably should join their clan. So if you are a small content creator, streamer, person that likes doing digital stuff, maybe hoping someone will hire you, whatever, check out the links below and apply to join. There's a Discord server, and we've teamed up with the Tower LFG. Do quite a bit of stuff with them on Twitter and all of that. So check out the description and see if that stuff is something you want to check out. Because maybe you hate LFG, and so maybe joining a big Discord server like the Tower, or being a part of a smaller group like Allied Guardians and joining that organization will make sense for you. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Master Raid. First things first, we probably should talk about the loot, because honestly, that's like the whole reason anyone really does anything in Destiny. Like, the main deal is going to be loot, because it's a looter shooter. So is the loot worth it? Well, the loot in this raid, there's Adept Weapons, so you can put on Adept mods, and there's a couple of places you can get Adept Weapons. One of the more famous ones is from Trials of Osiris. You go flawless, you get an Adept Weapon, unless it's that one weekend with Shara's Wrath. Other places would be Grandmaster Nightfalls, where you can farm those Adept Weapons over and over and over. And then there's also things like Master Raids. So in this one, the Vow of the Disciple, the Master Raid, they're just called Adept. So like Vault of Glass, they were called Time Lost. In this one, in Vow of the Disciple Master version, they are called Adept. So Insidious, parentheses, Adept. So there you go, that's what they're called. Now there are also random rolled, meaning that there's no set perk. So in Vault of Glass, when you got a Time Lost weapon, you knew that two of those perks were going to always be there no matter what. For example, with the Time Lost Faithbringer, you would always have the option to run Firefly Explosive Payload. That was kind of the curated set roll. Everything else was random, but those two perks would always be there. In Vow of the Disciple, they still have the same deal, where the third and fourth perk columns have two options, but they're always random. There's no set roll. So if you get the Insidious, you don't have a guarantee of like, oh, I want to get Rapid Hit Demolitionist or something. Nope, it's going to always be random. So that kind of makes it a little bit frustrating when we have weapon crafting, because you can make the exact weapon that you want. Also, as sandboxes change, you can change your crafted weapon. So I have crafted an Insidious Pulse Rifle. I just happen to like that Pulse Rifle a lot. And so for right now, the God roll is Rapid Hit Rampage, and I really like Rapid Hit Vorpal, so that's what I'm using. But say they nerf the crap out of Vorpal, and Rampage is by far the way to go with, I can just change that weapon to be Rapid Hit Rampage. I don't have to farm for anything, and that's kind of the big advantage of crafting. With these Adept Weapons, though, you would have to either get a new roll and keep playing until you actually end up landing the roll that you want, as well as then keeping those. So if like sandboxes change, and that version that you have that you really like now is garbage and you need something else, you either needed to have kept that new roll that from before and thrown it in your vault or something, or replay the raid in hopes of getting it. The other issue with these Adept Weapons is there's really only so many times a week you can get them. So you only get these Adept Weapons to drop by completing the raid challenge on Master difficulty. Then you get one random weapon per week. So when Vault of Glass, you could target farm, all right? So each challenge would have an associated weapon. I believe the time lost Fatebringer was tied to the Templar, if I remember correctly. And so you could run Templar 3 times, knowing you'd have a guaranteed 3 shots at getting that hand cannon, and you would for sure get the hand cannon, just you don't know exactly what roll, but you knew there'd be a curated roll. You don't get that in Vow of the Disciple on the Master version. Any Adept weapon can drop from each of these challenges. So I happen to have gotten the Cataclysmic Power Weapon Linear Fusion Rifle. I got the Forbearance Grenade Launcher and Submission. So those are obviously different weapons, all from the same encounter. Other people got Deliverance and some other options. So like I think one person got Insidious. So you can't really target farm for rolls. One nice advantage with Vault of Glass was you could target a specific weapon. So if you were like, you know what, I really want the hand cannon, I want different rolls, you could in theory just know it's going to be, hey, available from this challenge, I'm gonna wait till it's that challenge that week and then just do that. But nope, with the Master version of this, you don't get that benefit. But just like Vault of Glass, when you get to the end of the Master Vow of the Disciple, assuming you beat it, then you are able to turn in Spoils of Conquest for Adept Weapons. Now, the big thing is, are Adept Weapons worth it over enhanced traits? And I currently do not think so, right? So the big thing with Adept Weapons is you can have Adept mods, and those mods have random chances of dropping from all the same places that Adept Weapons drop from, except for I do not know if Vow of the Disciple drops mods or not. Adept mods will give you stuff like plus 10 range. There's ones called Adept Big Ones, which is basically combining boss spec and major spec into one. And there's a bunch of other ones like that, but you know you don't necessarily have them unless you've targeted and just farmed Grandmasters or something over and over to get these. So you can get 3 weapons, and then however many spoils that you have, you can turn in for Adept Weapons, and it's the same deal. Now you will sometimes get a red bar Adept Weapon, but don't get too excited. You can't craft a version of an Adept Weapon, at least not yet. It'd be applying for, say, the regular version. So if you got a red bar Insidious Adept, and once they get it all fixed, because right now it doesn't work as intended, but how it's supposed to go is when you finish that red bar, turn it in, well, there's one step forward towards being able to craft that submission machine gun. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I don't really think it's too much worth it, because even with Adept mods, it's not like fantastic. I think enhanced traits tend to, in general, be a little bit better. But realistically, the big reason why these crafted weapons and enhanced traits are better is because you can pick your own perks. You don't have to hope on RNG. You can change it whenever you want to. Whereas these Adept weapons, sure, every stat gets a little bit of a bump, which it does not happen with crafted weapons. And you can have those Adept mods, but you can't change the weapon to fit what you want. And that's kind of the big deal. What I would like to have Bungie maybe do is maybe make it where there's Adept weapons you can craft from the raid. So you can maybe have like an Adept Insidious with enhanced perks. I think that would totally be worth it, because right now this raid does not have a ton of replayability. There's not a memento as of yet that drops from completing the raid or has a chance to drop. There's not really any special cosmetics other than you get the Sparrow the first time you beat the Master Raid. There's really nothing that comes from this raid that makes people want to go, I should play this over and over. Now what might happen is someone just wants to get Spoils of Conquest and to turn it in. But is getting Spoils of Conquest from the hardest difficulty version of that activity a smart idea? Probably not. I would imagine a lot of people are going to farm for spoils by just running the regular version of the raid over and over, and then when they're like, all right, I got the spoils I want to turn in, they are going to then do the master version, probably a checkpoint even, and turn in all of those spoils. It's also been brought up to me that the Vault of Glass weapons are way more worth turning in your spoils. One person was telling me that right now, the Time Lost Fatebringer is the best hand cannon in the kinetic slots for PvP in the game. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what they were saying. And so they were like, hey, why would you turn in your spoils for Vow? All the Time Lost weapons from Vault of Glass are way more worth it anyways. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of a good point. To the Time Lost shotgun, I'm blanking on its name. That one's really strong. The hand cannon's fantastic. I like mine a lot. I've only got like one of them. And why would I turn in stuff for Adept Weapons on Vow? So that kind of really plays a lot into the replayability. One of the things that make Grandmasters fantastic is that you can get those Adept Weapons every single run. There's not just a cap. So like if you do your 100k and you know it counts for the 100k, the powerful reward, like lots of exotics drop and all of that stuff, you can keep playing it over and over and get Adept Weapons each time. And that's a great way to farm, because you also know, like this week, for example, it is the Silicone Neuroma, if I'm saying it right, sniper rifle Adept version. So you know if you want a good roll of that, or there's a roll that you want, you can just run that Grandmaster over and over and over until you get the roll that you want. You can't do that with Master Raids. You can only get that one Adept weapon from the challenge per character, seeing it 3 a week, and then it's based off of Spoils of Conquest. So there's really nothing to replay this activity for. Even Dado, you know, he's one of the best players in the game, or at the very least one of the most known ones, was like, hey, I probably won't be doing this Master Raid like at all once I have the challenges done and the title is acquired. And I'm kind of in the same boat, and I think other people are getting this way. Now, the difficulty of the raid is something that should be talked about, and I have to say is not nearly as hard as I thought it would be, and simultaneously harder than I thought it would be. All right, so the third encounter is the worst one, right? Like when you're doing LFG and stuff, the third encounter is usually where groups will get held up for a little while. It's not uncommon for a group just to fall apart at the third encounter. People leave, you reorganize, and hopefully get it done. It is now even worse on the third encounter, and the reason for this is that with the Master version, they have match games. So these Scorn Chieftains have solar shields. Some of these different taken enemies have void shields. There's unstoppables and overloads, and those all kind of happen at the same time in the third encounter. So the first encounter of Vow the Disciple on Master difficulty, you have unstoppable champions, and then if you're the runner person going into these rooms and getting symbols, you have overload. So you can have the defender run unstoppable, and then maybe want something solar because of the Scorn Chieftains, and then the runner will probably just do something overload like grenades, SMGs, whatever, and not really have to worry too much about shields unless they want to help. And you know exactly what's going to happen. When you hit that third encounter, there's a unstoppable and a overload. Those are the champion types for the glyph keepers. And so, you know, those are going to flip back and forth, what sides are on what, where they appear in the rooms, that kind of a thing. And there's also solar and void shields mixed into the mix. And so everyone has to run unstoppable, everyone needs to run overload, everyone should have on solar stuff, and everyone should have on void stuff. And so you can't really just be like, hey, I have this one thing, I got this, we're good. Everyone kind of needs to run everything, and that's where it gets tricky, because then you have those 3 relics by the end of that encounter, right? So that means there's 3 people that don't have weapons, they can't really do much with shields, and they gotta worry about the mechanic part of the encounter. And then the other remaining 3 need to be able to cover pretty much everything on their own. Of course, relics can do some level of add assistance and killing, but with those shields, it is a lot more difficult to pull those things off. So the third encounter is where the wheels can really, really fall off. I have noticed that the times I have beaten third encounter, it happened the first to third time. And then if we didn't beat it in that time frame, then that encounter just ended up stopping that group, and we just kind of all went our separate ways. And I assume people have grouped up with other folks at some other point. And so this third encounter is going to really put a big damper onto the replayability of this raid, in addition of the actual loot issues. So this raid, other than third encounter though, is really pretty much the same as regular Val. There's not a whole lot of differences as far as difficulty goes. Yes, things are more likely to kill you. There's more champions, like Caretaker now has overload champions, which is actually kind of nice because you can use Lucent Finisher and get heavy, so it's kind of like a big bonus instead of a pain in the butt. But when Lucent Finisher goes away with the end of the season, we'll see if I still feel that way or not, or what you guys think. So that's kind of like the difficulty of the raid. Like, Rolk is pretty easy. The challenges for this raid, they're the same as the normal version. So they're really not anything too extra hard, other than, of course, everything kills you faster. Like the Caretaker challenge, it's almost easier because you grab your own symbol and you shoot it on the outside. You just gotta do it fast. The third encounter challenge, however, it's going to be tricky because the third encounter is already pretty tough for random groups. And then you add in the whole thing of you can only kill one knight, and I think it's just going to make it a little bit harder than it already is. Then Rolk is crazy easy. It's just don't lose leeching when you're going up to the damage phase. Before that, leading up to the damage phase. And Rolk itself, just without the challenge, I did not really notice it. My first clear of the Master Raid, we two-phased him, I believe. And there's a video of that whole run clear of each encounter on my channel, so feel free to check those out. But I really did not find Master Raid to be any harder other than the third encounter. So this raid, I don't really think it's worth doing. Like, unless you're trying to do the title, or you just really want some extra adept weapons just to say you have them, then by all means, go for it. But if you're like, I really want to use my time the most efficiently to go after the best stuff, well, then I'd be like, yo, wait for Arms Dealer Grandmaster and just farm that, or just do Grandmasters, because you can run that over and over until you get the roles that you like. It's a little bit easier to find teams for the Grandmasters as well, mostly because of how replayable it is. That's kind of the last issue I have with raids in general, but it's probably worse even with Master Raids, is that since you can only get loot one time through it, then you don't really have a whole lot of a reason to play it after that one clear. It's part of why I did that raid life cycle video, because I have noticed in general Tuesday, Wednesdays, and occasionally Thursdays are when groups that kind of know what they're doing and will are more likely to beat the raid are running. And then once those days pass, they're done. People are into trials. There's not much going on for quality raid groups, at least in my experience on LFG. With Master Raid, it's a little bit worse. I was trying to turn in all my spoils for Adept Weapons just because I was like, why not use them? And I got my first clear the first day it came out, and it ended up taking a lot more effort to find teams that could hack it, as well as to just find a team on Wednesday of this week, so April 21st, which is different. Usually, Tuesday, Wednesdays are pretty easy, and then Thursday, I looked a little bit, and I found one group that had even posted stuff, and I joined them, and now they're pretty much out for the week. It looks like I did a little bit of scrolling today on Friday, the 22nd, just to see if I could find a group. I was just curious to see if people were posting. I didn't really see a whole lot. And I did see a couple of posts, but they were kind of ones that tell me like, hey, if you're trying to get this done, they may not be the best groups to join, and I'm not feeling great, and I just didn't want to raid anyways, and that's just kind of what I noticed when I was going through, which is not a great sign for the lifespan of an activity if something's that new, and already it has fallen off the number of people that are wanting to play it. So overall, no, this Master Raid missed the mark by quite a bit. It's not hard, it's not challenging, but mostly the loot just isn't worth it. You'd be way better off just doing the normal Val because you have less champions to deal with. You can use more of what you want. You can not have to think about it as much, especially that third encounter, and just rack up those spoils and then go in and burn them all on the master version if that's what you want to do, or the advice of other people, which is to just use those spoils on bolts of glass for those time lost weapons. So this is not a very good Master Raid, not really much worth it. I'll probably do the same thing I did with the Vault of Glass raid, is once I've done every challenge within this raid on Master difficulty, the odds of me going back and doing it again are pretty low. And so I want to end this video with, if you are trying to do the raid and get the title done for the Disciple Slayer title for the Vow of the Disciple raid, you probably want to get on these challenges and get them done the week they first come out. Because once it hits the second time it's out there, I think a lot of people are not going to be running, that are folks you might rather run with as opposed to other random individuals. So hope you guys all have a great week. I'd love to know down below if you've tried the Master Raid, if you agree or disagree with what I'm thinking. And I'm also curious about your thoughts and experience with the third encounter. Maybe my experience is unique. I don't think so, but I would love to hear from you guys about what you think. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to check out Tag. I got all of our information in the description down below. Feel free to apply to join, and have a great week and happy grinding, y'all.